What are you thinking about?
The creative process.
No budget animation, yeah.
My name is Christen Bach and welcome to episode 2 of No Budget Animation.
Finally.
Yes, finally. But the train is back up and running and hopefully we will gain a little bit of momentum. Now, in this episode we're going to be talking about concept development or the creative process, or as the beautiful people in the ad agencies are calling it, R&D. This is my absolute favorite part of the entire process, because this is kind of where all the experimentation happens, and this is where the foundation of the movie that we're going to be making is built. Now, the creative process is a long philosophical debate. There are so many opinions on this because it is such an individual thing. But in this episode, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my process, what is working for me, and try to take you through what kind of movie we're going to be doing along the way. People often have this notion that creativity or the creative process is divine intervention, that creative people just get struck by inspiration. That's not true, at least not in my case. Creativity is a little bit more like a muscle, that the more you use it, the more you train it, the better you're going to get. John Cleese, who's been dealing a lot with analyzing the creative process, and he said it pretty well, as he said,
Getting bored without any external stimulation. That's when the creative process really starts happening.
It's not his real voice. So a good beginning is to create a space where you don't get interrupted.
Ich mach Schluss.
Was?
So let's get started! Now, if there's one thing I couldn't live without in my creative process, it is this, the sketchbook. Now, it's extremely important to have a place where you can just jolt down ideas whenever they are hitting you. And talking about this, I would like to address a misconception that I see in a lot of people keeping sketchbooks, and especially students, sorry. But a sketchbook is not supposed to be a portfolio. A sketchbook is not a place where which should be neat and tidy. It should be extremely messy. Because a sketchbook should just kind of be a waterfall of all your thoughts and ideas and doodles. It should be like a place where you jolt down your most impressive drawings and the worst shit that you have ever made in your life. Point is, the sketchbook should reflect the chaos that's going on in your mind. And it should be the place where the stuff lands so you don't forget it. And believe me, if you don't write it down or draw it down, you are gonna forget it. At least I am. Now, a lot of people are using their iPads or phones for the exact same thing, which is completely fine, but I like when I'm away from my computer to kind of be away from my computer. And I also like the kind of diary feel that, that good sketchbook is taking. Yeah, there's just something really nice about it. Call me old-fashioned. So as I started toying with the idea of making this series, I had a pretty clear vision of what kind of movie I wanted to do to accompany it. A while back, Emil, the kid of a friend of mine, did this drawing. And I thought it was absolutely perfect. So as an homage, I did a small animation of it. And now we're back with the sketchbooks. Because after this, I got obsessed with doing these weird small beat boards in this style. And it was mainly just children's drawings, having adult relationships, treating each other like shit. And going into this, I thought that this was the movie that we were going to be making, because it's perfect for no budget. It's a charming style, it is super fast to design and really fast to animate. Heavy topics combined with a light style. What's there not to love? I even did a few line tests. So why are we not doing this? Well, because this happened. These clips are based on a bunch of 8mm film that my parents did when I was a kid. I have 5 hours of this laying around. So a week later I was hanging out with my buddy Henrik, and he had just built this amazing pedal board for his guitar. So while playing around with this 8mm footage popped up in my mind. And there was something in this combination between sound and vision that really tickled my primate brain. Because this is the thing with the creative process. It should be built on enthusiasm and it should be built on intuition. And to me, it always starts with like this weird taste in my mouth. And I can't really explain it. It's more like a feeling than an actual concrete idea. And at this initial stage, it's extremely fragile to me, which means that if I talk about it too early or I try to intellectualize it, it's going to lose its magic and the idea is going to be dead. So the exercise here is to believe in that feeling and kind of explore it and let it grow and build and brew organically. I just want to add, I know this sounds very kind of like touchy-feely and not like a firm advice from a self-help book that you can just adapt and run with. But it's a creative exploration and not everything can be readily explained. And now back to the main feature. So this is one of the forces with just saying fuck it and doing something for no budget. You're able to follow that intuition. What often happens when you're working with producers and film funds is that you have to explain yourself and you have to have a final plan of your film before you even start working on it. And especially if you want to do something personal and a little bit outside the norm, you want to be able to follow that feeling all the way throughout your process. It's about gaining momentum without having to justify your vision to anyone. Now that is the real power of no budget. I recently stumbled across an article written by the Superbrothers which actually explains all of this perfectly. It's called Less Talk, More Rock. It's about computer games, but it's totally applicable here. And I'll just link to it below. Writing down your ideas is great, but unless you're an author or a poet, don't just work in words. It's about finding the perfect balance between content and creative expression. And we're working in an audiovisual medium, so experiment visually and experiment audially. Is it called audially? Well, sound. Remember John Cleese?
Getting bored without any external stimulation. That's when the creative process really starts happening.
Yes. So when I do these kind of projects, I try to stay off the internet as much as possible. Because one thing is that the internet is just a swarm of procrastination just wanting to drag you down. But my main thing is that it is so easy to be inspired by so many great artists and projects out there that it can be really hard finding your own voice sometimes. And shutting it off just gives me better focus. So back to the project at hand. What are we gonna do with this? My idea is to do a series of elusive memories dealing with a family and their domestic problems. At first extremely fragmented in both sound and picture, but the further we get into the film, the more they flow into each other, building up to an almost musical climax. So that's the taste in my mouth right now. It will take a lot of editing, playing around with the sound, music and dialogue in order for this to work. Whether or not it will end out this way, well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, along the way in a project like this, it can be extremely helpful to talk it through with actual people. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Clay.
Now, this is my best friend, Kim. I developed pretty much all of my ideas together with him. Normally I call him up and I go, prøv lige her, jeg har den her idé. And he goes,
Det er bare en dårlig idé! Det er lidt for vagt. Jeg tror, at du skal tage fat i familien.
This can really help sharpening your idea. But there are a few things to keep in mind in order for this kind of creative spitballing to actually work. 1. Don't be pretentious or precious about your ideas. Actually, now we're at it, don't ever be pretentious about anything. 2. Be open for changes or new ideas to come up. Otherwise, why bother? 3. Don't be afraid to say really stupid ideas out loud. Because stupid ideas can spawn some really great ones. 4. Be playful. 5. Don't expect people to understand. Because between you and me, people are idiots. Or they are brilliant. Or to put it a little bit more elegantly, people don't always have the same taste or the same frame of reference as you do. But hear them out. Maybe they have something really great to say. And ultimately, it's your project, it's your decision. Now, just to round off this guy. The thing about Kim is that he's pretty crazy, but he's also really, really sharp. And we don't always share the same opinions, and we don't always have the same taste. But this just means that whenever we settle on something, whenever we have like a final idea, and we can talk about stuff for days, It is normally way better than my initial idea, and it's hardly ever the same idea as we started out with. So that's it for now. My very last comment on this is get busy, dig in, because as we talked about earlier, the creative process is hard work. And also, don't forget to go do other things like socializing, doing sports, whatever. Getting a little bit of distance to your project can also help you see the bigger picture. So those were just a few of my thoughts on the creative process. Any pointers, any comments are more than welcome down below. And join me next time for an exciting look at time management.
Das ist doch nicht spannend.
No.